Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, you magnificent beast. That's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Free compliments at the start of these videos. Now, you all sent me this video entitled How Developers Are Accidentally Killing MMOs. This is by Bellular Gaming. I'll include a link in the description, and I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. Now, I will be cutting this one up. This is kind of a longer one. I do a lot of discussion, so my reactions tend to vary between very long videos and also just more or less discussion style videos to some of the points that he makes. So if you haven't seen his video, you want to go watch that, and then if you're curious as to my thoughts on different parts of it, this will probably be the video for you. If you've already seen this video, then maybe you'll actually really enjoy the format. Now, always looking for feedback, so please let me know how you feel. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pre-like his video. We're going to go ahead and jump right in, and then we're going to explore why developers are accidentally killing MMORPGs, and we're going to see what comes out.
Have you ever picked up an MMO and thought, whoa, this gameplay is so fun, I'm never going to get tired? You spend weeks playing it, only to a few weeks later realize that you just don't feel it anymore. You still enjoy the game, but you sit down, you're ready to game, and you almost have to force yourself to start playing.
Okay, so I have run into that specifically multiple times, and this is what I call the MMO chores mindset. When a game starts to feel like if I don't log in, so you got that feeling you want to go play, but before you can really get into do the thing that you want to do, there's all this other stuff that you got to go do. And it's that kind of stuff that really wears me out. Also FOMO, I'd say artificial FOMO, that fear of missing out, that essentially where the game conflates it to such a degree that it's just like, I'd rather avoid it. Case in point, whenever a game does that, it burns me out faster than it would imagine. Now, I believe there was a time this worked on me, the psychology of this worked on me. So I do think that these games, you might not recognize them, that's what they're doing to you. But ultimately, that's going to be like something that eventually you have to kind of pull the plug, and it's going to frustrate you when you kind of realize what games are actually doing that to you. But we're 22 seconds into this video. Let's continue on.
No designer in the MMO space, or very few anyway, are content to just let playing the game be its own reward. They all end up making the very same mistake that Dr. Harlow did when he interrupted the monkeys' fun to give them raisins.
Isn't this, though, then a question about the issue with long-time persistent games, right? Where in terms of that playing a game for fun, like to go back into, a single-player game or even a multiplayer game, but a game that does have a finish line, a goal, a victory, where you have essentially solved the story and broken the whole thing down. So where it comes then into that games as a service, the game that continues to go on from just the pure business aspect of maintaining the service and the developers and the testing and the debugging staff, when it all is brought together, like how do you then continue to get people to come back in? Because I would submit that you would play Final Fantasy XIV just for fun, but then once you've played the game, once you've beaten Endwalker, what is the biggest reason to stick around? And it comes down into giving somebody a level of personal investment. And that's where, from that intrinsic perspective, where are things, where's the friction there? And yes, once I've finished the fun, especially of the story, then it becomes that, yes, my motivations do change, they do evolve, and the rewards, I think, still have to be there in terms of that relationship, as opposed to just the enjoyment of playing through the story. But the reward is obviously the promise that there's going to be this story, and I'm going to see where and how the world evolves. So it's a really interesting question that he's bringing up here right now, especially regarding the psychology of it all. I'm gonna let them continue on.
Who did keep their love for John? First, the group who were not rewarded. Of course, that's what we would expect based on what we've talked about thus far. But also, there was an unexpected group, and that group was those children who were surprised by a reward. So there we go, problems.
Well, so to step in on that aspect, the surprise, the wonder, that is what is the original offering of playing through Endwalker, of that surprise. Like what's going to happen in the story? My voice is being weird. And so when it comes down to it, this is actually something I've advocated for in these games. Actually, one of the things I really enjoy about farming in New World is that, the aptitude chest and things like that, you don't know what you're going to get. You know you're going to get a chest, but you don't know what ultimately is going to pop up inside, as opposed to like, here is your guaranteed reward. I, just like with the relics, am less motivated to do a relic within Final Fantasy 14. And I've advocated that experience could be that within 14, that once you hit level 90 at the time of this recording, that it still fills up an experience bar and then just gives you a random reward, like a loot box of like, here's some cool stuff that you open up and you don't know what it is. Maybe it's a mount, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I that's where it's like, I've longed for that aspect, that mystery, that discovery. Same thing kind of goes with just playing the game. A lot of it, sometimes it could be discovering the map, discovering the world. And once that's done, yeah, I think it's the idea of the unknown that is a part of the intrinsic fun of it. And once it's fully known and fully understood, then just saying like, oh, you can go do this much things for that. I weigh that in my real world against other games and also against the other things that I have to do in my life. So that's really interesting. It's really interesting. I'm gonna see where he continues from here.
Solved. Just don't tell players about the reward. But hang on.
Just tell them there's a surprise at the end of this.
What if we keep on giving them unexpected rewards?
What happens then?
Oh, shit. Then what happens is you have all the downsides of a boring, deterministic reward system, plus all of the downsides of high levels of RNG. Ouch! Hardly.
It's really interesting to kind of talk on that, because some of the times I see the most frustration when progression is locked behind RNG. And I've explained this, especially like within the Anthem, the problem with Anthem, one of the things with the progression was that you could go to work and then you roll a dice at the end of the day to see if you get paid. And that never felt good. It always kind of felt like, oh, what's going to happen? And I always have stated that it's like, there has to be, you can have RNG progression because that can be fun and exciting and have that surprise, but it's got to be married with some form of static progression, a way of making guaranteed progress towards that goal. So that even if you did not like randomly get your reward, you end up seeing here like, oh, well, at least I'm 1/10 of the way or 1/100th of the way. And if I continue to do that, then yes, that's going to be demotivating. But then occasionally maybe you get that boom, that surprise reward. But what gamers do is gamers will optimize the fun out of anything. They will try to find those systems and try to find out why and what can have an impact to help make it efficient. I've talked about efficiency brain a lot when it comes to MMOs and how efficiency brain can tend to take away the joy and the fun. For case in point example, with me in Final Fantasy 14, I've turned off my minimap. And by turning off the minimap, it ends up making me way more invested in the world itself. It's way more enjoyable and way more immersive of an experience every time I play, because I'm not being tempted to go be efficient. And I think it's that a sense of that personal choice that I make to step back, to take a breath, and to let the experience of the game as it is like together be far more enjoyable and ultimately less efficiency. And so I wonder if he'll talk about efficiency here in this video, but I guess we'll continue on and see.
Can damage intrinsic motivation. People had to do Torghast twice a week to get the item that they felt would let them play the rest of the game properly. So now the entire system.
Yeah, this is what I've often been worried about, especially as we want and advocate or want to have some kind of form of like Mythic Plus in Final Fantasy 14, for example. When it comes down to it, it's like if it becomes required in order to do extremes and savages, then it just becomes an extra chore. And I enjoy that I can step into 14 and I don't have that many chores, especially once I get to Omni 90. Then it's like, oh, great, I have more time to actually focus in on doing whatever it is that I want to do. And yeah, I definitely echo that. That's one of the things that easily frustrates me about games, when it's like, oh, I got to go do this, and then I got to go do this, and then I got to go do this. But I really want to do maybe one of those three things. And then essentially while still doing it, back in my mind, I start stressing or getting frustrated that it's like, I really got to go. I'm not taking full advantage, and efficiency brain kicks in and just hurts the overall experience.
On its own, that's fine. I mean, they've kind of got to play dirty to keep us engaged in the attention economy, where every other company is also playing dirty to try to hijack your brain chemistry, hijack your executive function to get you to do the thing that the game company wants.
That's absolutely so true, especially when it comes down to, like just when you start to think about all of the things that are competing for your time, both in gaming and outside of gaming, to where I think it was even Phil Spencer talked about how like Netflix is his biggest competitor. Sleep, and Netflix has stated sleep is their biggest competitor at some point in the past. And when it comes down to it, it's like that's where when it comes to business models, whether you're free to play or buy to play or like subscription, like there is so many options that it isn't that this model doesn't work anymore. It's that the model, yes, used to work, but because there are so many choices, the path of least resistance is going to be the absolute most likely taken. And so not having certain offerings is limiting your potential. Yes, it does separate you in terms of like, why do we have like high-end luxury cars and then at the same time just a kind of an economy car? Well, yeah, there's going to be a market for that. But I think when it comes to MMOs, like the luxury car model doesn't necessarily make business sense, because just like you wouldn't make a game just for the hardest core end game raiders, because you won't have the casual nature to be able to supplement the cost of maintaining these ongoing services and servers and things like that. So yes, the competition is key. It's one of the things where I've said, like, yeah, like as much as I would have liked to have you pay or had bought like the Halo multiplayer as a part of the game, it not launching as a free-to-play game is just surrendering so much, playing field, so many eyeballs, so much possibility to every free-to-play game that's already out there in the market.
Now, for a super brief TLDR, self-perception theory posits that you base your own motivations and identity on what you do, which creates a feedback loop. If you play a game to do dailies, then you must be playing for the dailies instead of for fun. The next day, you do them again.
This is why I continue to say it works till it doesn't, because this is essentially where when you start to identify this, you're like, wait a minute, like, I don't want to, those chores. I hate MMO chores. I hate them. And I hope that especially like the more games avoid them outright, or if nothing else, like you can have things that you can do in game. There's different ways I've seen people kind of express it to where it's like, yeah, like if you log in, you can do whatever you want, and then it's just going to make whatever the first handful of things that you do rewarding. I still think that's dangerous, because at some point that's going to make you feel like if you're not logging in, you're missing out. And so I tend to avoid that. That's where within 14's like Beast Tribe dailies is that they work but then they have an end. You finish them. Like, hey, I've done the dailies, I've gotten the reward, and maybe essentially that would be it, where it's like, hey, every time you log in, you're filling an XP meter, and then at some point you hit level 10 of daily logins, and then we're just going to just make it all evened out. Like the bonus just naturally applies whether you log in or you don't. I don't know. Maybe that would be something that'd be interesting to see.
Is to allow your intrinsic motivation to heal. Games can only control you, the individual, if you let them. So do not. Look, this is a heavy subject, but I think once we're aware, we can then choose how we spend our time and our money in this genre.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Knowledge is half the battle. And this is, where it comes down to like the argument. I've seen people, and this is just something I've seen happen probably for 20 years. I've seen one group of people or another say, oh, we just need to get so-and-so to step in, some government to step in to regulate this or do this. And by all means, like maybe that can happen. But like having looked at it over years and years and years, the best and easiest and most guaranteed approach is personal responsibility. But that requires an act of the will. But that can be then jump-started with knowledge. So being aware of the manipulations that are being played on you from your games, just like for me, with me turning off the minimap, has been a huge help in my enjoyment of the game. Just like me, when I look at what I like about MMOs is the social aspect, like in Final Fantasy XIV, as opposed to just logging out of my house, but logging out in the cities. That way I'm always seeing people and it feels better connected as opposed to like very isolated. That those are things that I recognize within myself. And then also not being beholden to any kind of daily, weekly, or monthly system that is just there to reward me while at the same time burning me out.
Hopefully more on the way soon as we level ourselves up as an organization. So thank you for your support. I hope that today's video has been able to help you enrich your own life. And with that said, I'll see you next time.
All right, so that was a fantastic video. I really like the points they make. I like how it's brought in with the different research studies and how different systems kind of have that intrinsic reward like cycle and feedback loop. So thank you guys so much for sending me this video. I really enjoyed watching it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my commentary, and hopefully you didn't mind all the jump cuts to the different parts of it. Be sure to go check out Bello Gaming for more of his content, or like and subscribe over there as well. Or you can always do it here too, which would be awesome and appreciated. If you guys have any other more of these videos that you'd like me to check out and give my thoughts and perspective on, keep sending them my way. But without further ado, guys, I hope you have a wonderful weekend and or week, and hope to see you in my next one. But until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with a clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh yeah.